Danny Rosen, welcome to the Social Angle Podcast.
So
It's
glad
great to
you're
be here.
here.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are talking social media marketing for nonprofits. So how you been, Danny? What's going on down in Raleigh?
Oh my gosh, all of the things. Trying to manage my two teenage daughters with my wife as best we can during a pandemic. Trying to dig out of claw out everything we're dealing with at Brand Fuel from last year and heading in the right direction. I would say I'm feeling pretty positive about most things right now. Yeah.
Are you going stir crazy?
Um, no, but I am a little homesick for some of the things that I think we talked about earlier, like live music. I'm super homesick and for that and getting together with my friends like you guys at industry shows and that connection. It is homesick is the word I would use.
Yeah, certainly events. You and I have been to concerts together. Those are things that, we're missing tremendously in our lives. And, we're not alone. I'm sure a lot of people are going through it as well. But today we are talking social media marketing for nonprofits. So for those who don't know you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself and how you got into the promo space?
Yeah. So I think sort of my claim to fame here is a bit why you guys maybe asked me is my work with Brand Fuel and Band Together and the co-founder stories there that probably link up a bit with industry organizations that I've been a part of starting with great people like Promo Kitchen and Promo Cares and Reciprocity Road. But just, I don't know, deep breath. I mean, I think all of the glorious insanity started with me getting into a bunch of trouble when I was a kid, getting a lot of demerits in junior high school. So I was punished with community service, and I actually ended up falling in love with doing the service work. And washing blackboards wasn't really for me. So I started fundraisers to work off the demerits when I was younger. And the first thing we did, I think you'll find creative, is it was called a mismatch contest where my classmates, we had a really formal dress code at my school, but for one day, they could come to school in mismatch clothing, and that was provided that they donated to a cause. And the most mismatch winners won crazy prizes like a single ice skate. We actually used a used Barry Manilow album from my attic. Funds were raised to buy disadvantaged children Christmas gifts, and the gifts were delivered in ring and run fashion. You guys remember that, right? Some ding dong ditch. You heard of
No.
that?
Oh, ring and run. Okay, ding dong ditch. Yes.
Yeah. So I spent my 16-year-old self was on Christmas Eve was leaving gifts with my friends like Robert Fiveash, my business partner at Brand Fuel. We were leaving them on the doorsteps of those in need of a brighter Christmas, and we'd ring the door, hide behind bushes, and we watch these families get these gifts and have these just like monstrously wonderful smiles. And at 16, I found myself like crying behind those bushes, realizing the power of doing something nice for strangers in need. And those fundraising stunts I was doing, it was working off my demerits, but it was garnering the attention of other nonprofits in our community. And Operation Smile was an international nonprofit, was just getting going, and they provide free surgery for children with cleft lips and cleft palates around the world. And our group at my school became the youth counterpart to them. And so now, 35 years later, there's 600 of those youth clubs globally working with Operation Smile, which is insane. So I think, part of this is about, thinking big and realizing that, even at 16, I could positively impact the lives of kids around the world. Can you imagine being a scrub nurse in a Filipino or African operating room at that age? And so I think that's kind of the genesis of it. It changed sort of my course from being a demerit getting asshole, troublemaker, to doing good in the world. And then I went on to college, UNC Chapel Hill. My parents said, you've got to pay for anything above room and board because of the added out-of-state costs. And that was tough at the time. That really sucked, but it brought on some great life lessons.
You said out of state. Where were you living?
I was Norfolk, Virginia is where I grew up.
Okay.
And so, to work that off, not work that off, but to raise the money to pay the college expenses that my parents weren't covering, I was designing and selling Duke Sucks t-shirts door to door, and running from campus police while trying to sell the shirts after and before the big games on campus. And those shirts they're in UNC's Digital Archives Museum, which gives me so much pride. and I sold a lot of shirts on campus. I covered the college expenses, built a little sales force of my lacrosse friends. I was navigating the thrills and fun of inventory and accounting and marketing, and they called me the doctor of cotton on campus.
I love
And
it.
yeah, and so I think that reputation connected me to students looking for fundraising opportunities through T-shirt sales. And after college, it was just a natural progression to work at the screen printing company, that I was working at, getting these shirts printed. And I'd ride my bike to work with my golden retriever, and we smoked pot a lot, and and we, on the daily. And I learned a lot about printing and culture and sales and marketing. But the end of the story is that at the end, my ambition got the best of me, and I left that printer after 8 years, and I partnered with my best friend, who was Robert Five Ash, and we started something new. And that's when the profession really started, jump started, and Brand Fuel was born. And that friendship with Robert and the kick-ass people that work at Brand Fuel is just such a special company. The value set of giving back, and having some fun along the way is really where I am.
That's awesome. I feel like I met so many kids like you in undergraduate at like the Fox School of Business who were doing the same, which they were making like shirts with like Temple's logo and stuff. Like it's so nice to hear like just your path and everything, how it's, like your values and principles are just infused in everything that you do. So that being said, like being somewhere for 8 years, I think people can sometimes get lulled by the comfort of a full time job. Like, what inspired you to take that leap, and to go in with your partner to start Brand Fuel?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Brand Fuel and Band Together, there's some like common threads. We can talk about both, but I think all of it's like creativity,
Okay.
innovation, helping others, community building, and the fun. I mean, I think that one's like probably most important to me. You guys may have seen the PPAI keynote speaker, Roy Spence. He said something really sad with me. He said, "We're having a fun crisis in business," and I just couldn't agree more. It's like it seems like when you bring fun into the equation, you can start to create the community, whether that's, a Brand Fuel or a Band Together, for profit or not for profit. And when you've done that, you're often given the permission to sell to, the community, or ask them to donate to a cause.
Okay.
So being a part of leading those organizations like has filled my soul. And it's just the credit, everything I've got on my titles, it's all this co-founder, co-founder, co-founder. It's people like Robert, my staff, and the volunteers that band together, all of those folks. My wife, who's given me the latitude to dream and put up with my bullshit, to do this. I mean, all of that is literally to say, like, your dreams and your day job can and should coexist.
That's awesome.
You sound like a rebel rouser, Danny.
Yeah, I like that. I like that term. I do. It's not. It's something that I can own now at the stage of my life, but when I was younger, not so much.
Yeah, well, I think we all went through it. It seems like, you're still going through it. So good for you on that one.
Thanks.
So you're a huge music fan, like, of course, all three of us. We started this podcast like 45 minutes ago, and we just started recording, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, because we were talking about music. Um, and Band Together uses live music as a platform for social change. Can you tell us a little bit about how live music is a great intersection for nonprofits and social?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think. I mean, I'd start and say we're doing live stream music these days, but we hope to get back to it here this year. But I think it'd be insane for me not to mention the promo cares movement a little bit in our industry, where we're finding sort of the intersection of product and purpose. And so anybody who wants to join sort of cause related stuff, Band Together is a little bit infused in the industry, which we can talk about. But Roger, Mandy, Dave, Carrie, Denise, and Meg, just we're trying to put a brighter light on our industry with regards to social responsibility. And also shout out to Reciprocity Road for making giving back a core tenet organizationally, which I think is great. So all these things are sort of kind of come together, giving and business. But for Band Together, I can't think of anything much better other than bringing your friends, your family together to bring, I don't know, build a better community, at a concert, raising money for those in need, using marketing as the driver of all that. And so, my core competencies are marketing, philanthropy, building community, I mean, music, I guess the love of music, if that's a competency, being a jackass. I mean, I think that's kind of band together. There's so much of that infused in there, but some differentiators for band together for people who don't know about it. We choose a different nonprofit partner every single year after a rigorous vetting process. We're constantly changing, but we partner with them, so we're not just raising money for them, we're raising money with them. So there's a lot of learning and best practice sharing, and we put on these large scale concert events where we donate $1 million each year to the cause, and it's become the largest nonprofit live music event in the Southeast, possibly the longest running organizational thing like that in the country. We say we're the organizational equivalent of a mullet. We're business in front and party in back, and we always say, in tragedy, good things can happen. And so when I think about the promo industry being involved in the effort outside of our delightful 2020, we've had a lot of promo misfits, rabble rousers who come to Raleigh, engage for a long weekend for volunteerism, marketing, and just having some fun. And suppliers pitch in with giveaways, and we sell gear, and stuff that is interactive at the show. And maybe just something else I think too on the nonprofit side, and I think about the for-profit nonprofit coming together. Companies are starting to realize that cute jingles and puppy dogs and ads, they just don't sell goods and services like they used to. Those old ads, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend the cigarette brand, not so much. But consumers are expecting brands to be more human and more honest, and they want them to care about their employees and ensure a clean supply chain and a better environment and support the communities that have supported them. So there's this opportunity for companies to align with nonprofits. And thinking about Melissa, you and Roger talking on the Cause Marketing podcast, which everybody has to listen to, was so good.
Thank you.
Really was
Roger's
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so good. I mean, the buy one give ones, or the percentages that you can donate to a cause with the purchase of a hat, for example.
Yeah.
So I think when companies support causes, a lot of times, they're just writing a check. But at Band Together, we're creating opportunities to get their staff involved and invested. So that's team building and volunteerism, employee perks, where you get concert tickets, maybe you get branded gear at all the shows, because putting a banner on the stage is like passive marketing, and we do that. But the secret to success through sponsorship is through brand experiences, brand activation, and that all takes the form of sampling and t-shirt cannons, printing on site at events. And these are the things that people remember and keep, and they're associated with long after the band hits that final note on stage.
How many concerts do you guys have a year?
So we have one major concert that's the main event, but we have multiple, like we have 2 to 4 mid-sized concerts, and then we have some intimate things that we'll do, like VIP stuff, maybe 10 events. So yeah.
Are you guys doing it this year? Are your plans still to do it?
We are. We've got a date booked for the downtown amphitheater, Red Hat Amphitheater, on October 23rd. I can't tell you the band name, but they're I'll say they're an up and coming band, last 4 or 5 years, and they're so good. So we're looking at backfilling with a couple other bands as well, but we've already locked it in. Pandemic, hoping that that's gone and we can start doing some good with music.
And local bands you're talking about?
No, interesting question. No, these are internationally known bands.
Oh, okay.
Headline. Okay. Yeah, and so 5 to 7,000 tickets. But we do try and honor and put a local band on stage to open up for these big acts as well, which is something I just love.
May I ask, this is a little bit off topic, but are you somebody who's seeking them out, or because of your mission and the way that you do things, people are coming to you to participate? Like, I'm curious what that booking process is like for who you pick to participate, like bands and musician wise.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that brings me a large amount of pain and stress. So thanks for asking it. Because we have events that are on Saturday nights, typically in the spring and now in the fall, they're coveted nights. And because the money stays in our community, unless the band really is connected to the cause or we've got a personal connection, we typically are paying the bands, which also we're like funding live musicians, and that's really important. But we have to seek them out. It's a highly competitive environment. A lot of venues have disappeared during this time, and Live Nation's sort of taken over. It's a bit monopolistic. Having that hook where the band calls us and says, we want to come and do this for free has not happened except for on a local level. So the idea is like, it's a part of our model. Pay the bands, give them the stuff they say on stage. If they're willing to come early, before the event or after the event, and join us in the community and meet the people that you're trying to help serve, or write a check back to us, which has happened a bit, and promote the music as well as the cause on their social channels. We do see some of that.
That's cool. That's really awesome. And that actually segues perfectly into the next question that I wanted to ask you. So, I love working with nonprofits on the side when it comes to social media, because I think it's an area that is incredibly important for them, especially because normally a lot of times is there's maybe a smaller staff or not enough resources or money allocated to social media marketing. So, to me, I was looking at different stats, for questions that I wanted to ask you. And I found one where it was like 29% of donors prefer social media as like their preferred way of giving or providing a donation to a nonprofit. So, why would you think it's important from your own personal and professional experience to have a solid social media marketing strategy?
Yeah, great question. And I love that stat. That, I mean, sounds kind of low at first, and you're like, that's huge.
Yeah.
A third. That's
Yeah.
big. I mean, wow, the power of social media. I mean, after a website, where do they go? Where does a donor go to see if a nonprofit's legit? I mean, they do a search. I mean, a solid social media presence creates validation,
Right.
right? I think some smart donors are peeling back the layers of nonprofits, looking at their 990s, their tax returns on their programs like GuideStar and Charity Navigator, but they're probably checking out social channels and powerful storytelling, looking at follower numbers, engagement. I mean, all of that drives impressions and trust. And I mean, you think about it, social media is fundraising currency. I
Yep.
mean, it's a legitimizer, and it's also important to really look at the engagement on social and also the power of promo. I mean, if you want to see real engagement for a nonprofit, I dare you to dangle the sale of a meaningful design on a T-shirt or a hoodie to prospective donors, and don't just sell it to them. Share that purchase of the shirt or hoodie to show that that purchase will give a certain number of people access to fresh water or provide homeless puppy dogs and kitty cats a place to live. That's the stuff of industry legend. I mean, that's the crossroads of marketing and helping others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, can you talk a little bit about what you think are the ingredients of a great promotional campaign for a nonprofit?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I would answer this for profit or non for profit. I'd say the main ingredient is tracking ROI, something our industry struggles with. But I think with digital mediums and connecting with physical, what we sell and what I call digital marketing, I think you can start to do that more. But for far too long, nonprofits have been scrutinized by donors who are calling marketing overhead. Which actually makes me a little bit sick to my stomach
Hmm.
because I think a little bit differently about it. But I think we can change that type of mentality through education, and it starts with showing the value of marketing. I'll give you a good example. I was thinking about all the things in our industry that happen, but they're two friends of mine. You guys may know them. They're also on the board of Promo Cares, Mandy Rudd and Dave Schultz. Um, just two generous spirits. They are a part of a children's hospital fundraiser in Kansas City, and the fundraiser is called the Big Slick. And each year, a really well-known Kansas City-based artist designs a collector style T-shirt, and each shirt is sold for $100. So it's kind of an expensive shirt, but 100% of the net proceeds goes to the kids' hospital. And so then they put the ceiling on the number of T-shirts that they print at 1,000. So they build in, promo FOMO with that, right? And buying and wearing one of those 1,000, limited edition $100 designer T-shirt probably delivers a lot of satisfaction and pride for the owner. And I'm not a math major, but just kind of thinking that through, that's probably 75,000 to the nonprofit after expenses, which helps a certain number of kids, which is really what we're trying to get after again, impact.
Right.
Sure.
So, you can look at the ROI equation. You can say they spent $25,000 on the t-shirts, brought in 75 grand in net income, helped 100 kids, 200% ROI. And that's a marketing investment that I think donors can get behind. Um, I also think another ingredient is how you make people feel, and if you can create an emotional connection and open up hearts, you achieve what I call ROE, which is return on emotion. And, I think we've got to educate our nonprofit clients on all of this. If you look up my favorite TED Talk, it's Dan Pelota. He presents this argument that marketing is not overhead if it's an investment that delivers more funds so nonprofits can spend their time on services and not on the hard work and the starvation cycle of fundraising.
Right.
Because I think a lot of nonprofits are, they're scraping pennies and they're looking at the cheapest way to get by, and they've got to invest in themselves and their brands,
Yeah.
which means an investment in quality merchandise, sustainable merchandise that's going to last, something that they're proud to wear and use. And so how do we help our nonprofit clients with that? The 7 donor touch points annually they've got to do, the calls, the emails, the coffee. Merchandise has got to be at least one of those touch points. That helps tell the story, right?
100%. Do you think also as well, like for nonprofits that are trying to zero in on maybe the best social media platforms to use for fundraising, is there ones that you recommend or think suit their strategy the best?
Yeah, so I think if you're just talking about social media platforms, I probably don't have a single answer. I think you go where your donors are. You've got to figure that out, but also go where your the stakeholders, the volunteers, the staff, the end recipients of the funds, of your cause. Where are they? And so, obviously, social media is a tremendously personal way to communicate. But we use a platform called Classy, and they make it.
Yes.
Yeah, Classy. It's great. So they gamify fundraising. And so there's this interface that's beautiful. It snaps into social channels and individual fundraising strategy where you bring your friends and your connections along for the ride for your cause. And I serve on the board of a Place at the Table in downtown Raleigh. It's a pay what you can cafe. And 2 months ago or so, we raised $123,000 on that platform, doing fun things like burpees and biscuits, where friends get together and they donate money, and then they can come and do burpees, and then we feed them with biscuits, and then they get branded merch from the table. And that kind of goes back to the Roy Spence, we're having a fund crisis in business comment earlier. Nonprofits have to invest in extraordinary experiences for donors that get people talking and sharing and posting on social, and ultimately they're helping those in need. I don't know how long you guys want to go. I mean, I have a kind of an interesting example if you want me to share it.
If
Okay.
if you have time, we'd love to.
Okay. Yeah. So, I'll share this one that I just love. I love telling the story. I think the nonprofit it's called Fashion Revolution, and they were placing vending machines in downtown areas, and they were selling shirts, and you didn't know what it was. It just said t-shirts for $2 in a vending machine. And so the person would go up and they put their $2 in the vending machine for the shirt. And instead of the shirt coming out, an emotional video would pop up, like this really visceral video you'd watch for a minute that educates the buyer on how the t-shirt was made, which was made by people who were not paid a fair wage, and that the shirt was made in these horrible factory conditions. And this is my favorite part of this, is that the buyer at the end of the video is given a chance to keep the shirt or to donate the $2 to their nonprofit. And of course, most people donate the $2 that they invested in the nonprofit, which raises tons of money and awareness, probably lots of social media. That shit is magic.
That's awesome. Very
What was it called again?
Fashion Revolution.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, check it out. I think it happened first in Belgium. I don't know. It's a little while ago, but I love the story behind it. And there's a promotional product, of course, tied to
We
it
can
too.
use that, and we put together, a story page for these podcasts, and we can, whatever we find on that, we can certainly embed that in.
Great.
All right. So can you share a tip or two for nonprofits looking to tap into the power of social media? You gave kind of a couple earlier, but are there any ones that you think people should take away from this episode?
Yeah, I have a lot. I mean, I'll talk from my experience at Brand Fuel. So for a customer, Operation Smile recently decided to invest in an online store program, which we donate a lot of stuff to that, obviously. But in it, there's a lot of products with like lifestyle shots and kids with the cleft lips and just it's beautifully done and but my favorite one is with the founder of Operation Smile, Dr. McGee, who just loves like these crazy colorful socks. And so we designed these socks with him in mind, and it's actually him rocking them in the advertising and the lifestyle photography, and they're called Doc socks, and they have become a top seller because of that personal connection. I don't know if there's something called influencer sock marketing, but there
There is
should be.
now.
Yeah, there is now. Hashtag it. Another one would be, pre-pandemic at Brand Fuel, we supported the Interfaith Food Shuttles Backpack Buddies program, and we did this event at a new brewery, a Trophy Brewing Company in downtown Raleigh, and we invited clients to what we call a brand good experience, doing good with your brand, that included free beer and a race to see what teams could pack kids' backpacks with the food the fastest. And so everyone got participatory promo, but winners got high-end gear. We wrote a check. It was memorable, fun, and it was super meaningful. So there are a couple. I probably have a band together one if you want it. It's more of a fail, but it's kind of fun. But I
If
don't
you'd
know.
like to share, yeah, of course. We're all
Yeah,
down for stories. Yeah.
yeah. This one's a little uncomfortable. I got the marketing fail award for this one that year, but you can cut this one out if you need to. But um, So I think it was the Delta Ray Lyle Lovett concert at Coca Booth Amphitheater here in Cary, North Carolina. And at the show, we were trying to really communicate to fans who had bought tickets to see Lyle Lovett who didn't know anything about Band Together. So we have this kind of a warring thing where people come see the band, but they don't know anything about Band Together. They're just here for Band Together. They don't care about the band. Like where we can bring them together is what works. So this idea I had was to give out branded pens with Band Together and the charity, which was, let's see here, Tammy Lynn Center, co-branded pens that went out to all the fans, and we gave them a piece of paper with instructions on how to make a paper airplane, and then information about the Tammy Lynn Center and the great work that they do. And there were some coupons on there, so we had some sponsorship stuff, and we said at intermission between the shows, we're going to do this stunt. We want to see 5,000 people throw paper airplanes into the air, and the directions were for them to take that pen and to write something powerfully positive, something that happened to them that was, really good and meaningful, or write a note to a loved one that was no longer with them, whatever it was. Share something good, because there was a lot of stuff on the news at that time that was just really tragic. And so I got on stage, and I had the drummer from Delta Ray, Mike's behind me, and he's going to do this countdown. And I was talking about, let's put some positivity in the world. And then when you find these paper airplanes, you get to keep the pen, but find someone else's paper airplane, read it. And there's these like connection points along the way. And maybe take a picture and share on social, hashtag Band Together. And so I'm just telling this great story, and I'm so excited about it. And Mike does the 10, 9, 8, whatever countdown, and literally like 5 airplanes go into the sky. It was the worst.
Oh,
Oh,
Uh,
oh
so
no.
the executive director, Matt Strickland, comes over to me, and he just gives me this big hug, and
Oh.
yeah, it was painful. People were there just drinking and having fun. Nobody's listening to me, but A for effort.
A
Yeah.
for effort, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you put yourself out there. You
Right.
totally put yourself out there.
Free
Yeah,
pens for everybody.
yeah. Free pens, man. All right, Danny, we have one last question. Again, we're back to the music. I figure we have to drop this one on you. Favorite band or musician of all time?
Yeah. Wow. We were talking before this. I have so many like wonderful live music stories, many of which took place with our pal Jake Koralik. But to protect the innocent here, I won't use any stories of Jake or any bands that I love. But and you and I love our Avett Brothers, Vinny, for sure, and they're up there. But all-time favorite is the Ramones. I've always said that life is like a mosh pit at a Ramon show, and it's where you get knocked down and you got to get back up, and other people there oftentimes will help you and pick you up, and the mosh pit is where you find your true friends. You know, life constantly knocks you down, but you have to be resilient, get back up and start dancing. And you got to surround yourself with good people who are positive and believe in you and will enjoy the ride with you. And I just think about the Ramones gutting it out and those shows that I went to as a kid. And, you know, just there's so many good memories there that I think, you know, I carry with me, and I'll never forget that.
You got any scars?
Um, you know, I can tell you about, I got kicked in the face at a Henry Rollins show. I lost my watch at a Ramones concert one time, and at the end of the show, I waited around to see if I could find my watch on the ground. I found someone else's watch, and I wore that for about a year. I mean, I don't have any. Uh, there are pictures out there of me that I think are the scars. Um,
Well, send some of those to us, and we'll put them on the web page when we put it together.
Yeah, I'll send you one. I will. There's one of me. I think Jake might have taken it in downtown Raleigh, where I had a hubcap and toilet paper tied around my head to keep the sweat, because I was sweating so much at the show dancing, and I was sleeping on the road, like cuddling with this hubcap and this toilet paper headband. That it's a fond one I want my kids to see one day for sure.
Nice. Well, you guys know I love the Avett Brothers, but you know, I have to look at my entire lifetime, and they've only occupied, I guess, the last 7 years. So I have to go with the tried and true The Who. I'm a huge
Really?
Who fan. Yeah. So
Oh my
you
God.
know,
Wow.
to me, they're just my band. So
What do you
Avett
love
Brothers.
about them? Like, I want to know for
I'm a
who?
big Pete Townsend fan,
Ah,
so
okay.
I've read his books.
You
I
look
think,
like Pete Townsend a little, bud.
all right, I'll take that as a
Yeah,
compliment. Um,
totally.
but he's just creative genius. You know, he's the brains behind Tommy. I mean, he's the brains behind all the music. You know, and it's funny how the rest of that band kind of fit in around Pete. And if you ever like, you know, I could talk forever about this. Like, you know, all those guys brought something really magical to the table, but Pete was really the brains. Um, but I love the music. You know, even after like, you know, Keith Moon died, like,
Moon's
you know,
crying right now.
what was that? And
Keith Moon is crying that you said that about Pete, but it's gone. So
well, yeah, I mean, just so many great stories. Just, you know, they occupy a place in my mind where growing up, you know, I used to hear, you know, in the '70s, I would hear it, you know, long vacation car drives, you know, places, always hear the Who and my mother playing the Who. It's just,
Aw.
yeah, they're certainly my band. I mean, look, I could say that about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles as well, but the Who, you know, certainly a step above all those classic rockers. So, what about you, Melissa?
So I love, like, firstly that it's tied to so much nostalgia for both of you. I think that's so, like, so telling for music. But I have to say, Florence and the Machine, like
mm,
Florence Welch, like her voice, like I remember when Lungs came out and Dog Days Are Over, and I was like, what is this with harps? Like, and why is it so good? And I'm definitely a part of that age where, like, you know, a single is released, right? And it's not common for me that I'm going to invest like $15 in getting a whole album unless like I really, 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 really love an artist. So there's people who, like, I will buy their whole catalog because I just love the way they sound. Her band is one of them. Like seeing her solo, like just, and it's so good live. Like she did a live show for David Letterman. I'll have to send it to you guys in an email, but her voice, she just sounds like an angel. Like there's just no other like way to describe her, but it was like just as good live, its own thing as it is on the album. And I would say probably like it's a tie between like her and SZA. Like SZA is another one. Like Control is just like, oh, that's my album. Like
How many have you seen them live, Florence?
so it was awful, Vin. I bought an expensive ass ticket to go see her at Wells Fargo in Philadelphia. And I was during grad school, and it was so balls to the wall with my time that like my phone's blown up with all these pictures of her. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's at Philly. Oh my God, I bought a ticket and I forgot that I purchased it. So I didn't go. I was heartbroken.
Whoa.
Heartbroken. But it was like, you know, finals. I was doing my caps. Right? I was like,
I didn't
Oh,
mean to laugh. I didn't mean to laugh.
I laughed after, but like after the tears dried, I was like, oh my God, like I
no,
purchased
look,
it.
I have a similar story. I bought Radiohead tickets a couple years ago and I forgot. And the concert came. I was like, thought I bought tickets for that, and I had multiple email accounts, and I checked the one email account that I go into, no tickets, and I was like, maybe I didn't. And then I checked the other one after the concert. I was like, holy shit, they're my tickets.
Right? Oh.
Dan, look at Danny. I think he just got.
That never has happened to me. I've seen
Uh,
it happen to others, but I just, yeah, I can't lose. I've seen people forget to get to the event, forget their tickets or not their phone or whatever, and they have to go and get them and come back late. I've seen stuff like that, but we had an interesting story here today. Actually, a customer contacted us and said, "Hey, I found this water bottle that has your name on it. It says brand fuel, and on the other side it says find the poem in every moment." And my wife had it, and I broke it, and I'm wondering if you have one I could buy from you or whatever. And so I get this message, and I call him back. I'm like, "Hey, I'm the owner of the company." He's like, "What? The owner of the company's calling me?" And I was like, "Yeah, we had 2 bottles left." And I said, "What's your address? We'll send them." And made his day, Valentine's moment. And I share that story with you. He was just like, "I'm going on social." I just like, "No, just take it, man. It's just great that we could help you out, and do something nice for you and your family on Valentine's." But I feel like when you guys forgot the tickets, uh, you could contact the band. Like, someone has got a heart, and says like, "Okay, we come to the next show on us." Like, it happens. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
do something good and kind with. I mean, bands are brands when you get down to it, right? And without
totally.
fans, you're nothing. And you guys are obviously great fans of those bands. Radiohead. I mean, your favorite band, you miss Florence.
I
Crying.
know.
I
Next.
know.
Crazy. Well, look. Once this pandemic's over, Florence is still around,
Yeah.
and they'll tour again. Unfortunately, for me, I never saw the Who live. Um, I don't know if you ever saw them, Danny. Um, but you saw the Ramones obviously multiple times live. So that's one experience I never got to get, in my life, to see the Who live. But anyway, you know, we'll live to live another day. So well, Danny, thank you so much for taking the time today. We had a blast talking, social media marketing, nonprofits, and music, and we'd love to keep in touch and do this again.
Are you kidding? I love you guys. 2 social media mavens. I mean,
Thank
Melissa, I don't know where you came from. I was watching Vin for years, but wow, you came out of the woodwork and just. The only thing that I regret about this session that we have, believe it or not, I have one regret, because it's been completely enjoyable otherwise. It's that this is going down when we did promo chat at Promo Kitchen.
All
I
right,
know, like,
right,
what were we thinking?
you.
right. I
Yeah,
know. I was thinking about that today. It's like, oh, we've had a jam-packed day anyway. It feels like we've been on conference calls all day. But yeah, I was like, oh, it's promo chat time, but we'll get them next week, right?
right on. That's right on. Yeah. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. We appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, it was fun.